Hey everybody, Mike here. Welcome to the channel. Well, today I'm going to be 3D printing something very practical. It's going to be a holder for my stylus. Now, I could go out and buy one, but what's the fun in that, right? And yeah, it's going to be a very simple project, but nevertheless, lots of fun. So let's get started. So I have an idea, regardless of the measurements, what it should look like. It's going to be something looking like this. Small hole in the middle, holding the stylus. Then this might be slightly higher and tapered and go down a little bit like this, and that's all there's to it, right? Something like that. So yeah, we need some measurements, right? So let me get my caliper here, turn that on, make sure it's set to 0. There you go. Right, so for the height, how deep it should go into that holder, I would say about 60 millimeters, right? So this measurement right here, that would be about 60, right? Now the diameter would be, I measure 11.81. Let's go a little bit higher than that. Let's go with 13, right? So we're going to go and do that. 13 millimeters. Then let's see the overall width. We want it to be able to sit on my desk nicely, right? So we can basically eyeball that. I know that this is 13. Let's go with, I don't know. Let's do 35, right? So this would be 35 diameter. And then the overall height, that's 60. Let's make that a bit higher. 60 might be a bit much. Let me see. That doesn't have to be 60. Let's do 50 on this, right? And then I'll do 75 on the overall height, all right? There you have it. So there's my little sketch. Rough indication of what it's going to look like. And yeah, that said, let's jump into some modeling software and get started. Alrighty, well, we're out of this Maya, but you don't need Maya for this. You can use Sketchfab or Tinkercad or Fusion or whatever you're using. I just happen to have Maya, and we're going to model out the little stylus holder. Now, while I was doing the measurements, I kind of figured that considering the diameter would be 35 and the height would be 75, it would possibly topple over, right? So I might adjust the measurements a little bit while we're at it here, but first I'm going to block out the general shape. So I'm just going to take a polygon cylinder right here, and just so you can see it better, I'm going to scale it up. And I'm going to go in here to vertex, and then we're going to push it out to something like this. And then I'm going to go in here, and this is not a Maya tutorial, by the way. If you want those, I have more than 1,300 Maya videos on my other channel if you're interested. This should be probably the overall shape. Let's make this a bit bigger. And I'm going to deal with the measurements, of course, in a minute. But for now, oh, got a little bit too much selected here. Let's try that again. Nothing else selected. Yeah, good. Make that a bit bigger. Bring that down a little bit. So it would look something like this, right? And then we're going to have that hole in the middle, of course. So let's create that. And that should be about right. And then we're going to push that down into the base. And that would look from this standpoint, and move it in here quite low, right? Okay, now there are not that many critical measurements here that I need. The inner diameter, so the stylus will fit, of course, and then the height is somewhat important. So first, let's reinforce this model a little bit. Let me just move this up, and I'm going to add some edge loops. We're going to go and put one here. And the reason why I'm doing that is the model will look a lot more organic when I subdivide it. So what I mean is add more detail. So when I smooth out the model, I will have a little bit rounded edges. That's kind of the idea here. So let's get that in here. And then I want to have that detail down here as well. So let me go in here and scale that a little bit. All right, I think I got all of them. I need to do this one as well. Scale it in just a little. And all of that is for the reason that if I now would subdivide it, it would look something like this, more rounded, okay? And like I said, it's a very, very simple object. Now we got something like this. Now let's deal with measurements. I'm going to go up to Windows, Settings, Preferences, under Settings, I'm set to millimeters, right? Now I know that the opening has to be 13 millimeters in diameter. So let's turn on our measurements. I'm going to Control T to do that. And let's see what we got. Now it's not giving me that measurements, but that's fine. I can do that manually. I do know that the overall diameter should be about 35. So I'm going to go in here, type in 35. And then I want that to descend as well, of course. So that's what I started with, right? And then I want to know, the height is kind of eyeballing it, I would say, but I do want to know the diameter here. So that one I need to measure. So we want to measure from this line right here, okay? So we're going to go to Create, we're going to go to Measure Tool, and then put in a Distance Tool, right? Now let's set a marker here. Try that again. From here to there. Okay. You can see that's 11.88. So it's a little bit small because I estimated that at 13, right? So well, I can do a couple of things. I can go in and make that hole a little bit larger. But instead what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the overall object, this guy, and I'm going to scale it up slightly. And of course each square here is 1 millimeter as well, so I can go in here, and if I do this, that should be more than sufficient, right? Let's go in here and put that up there, and of course this measurement is no longer valid, so let's remeasure. And we're going to go to Create. Where do you go? Measure Tool, Distance Tool. So I want to go from, let's say, here to, let's say, here. It's 15. So we got a millimeter on each side as kind of space to work with, right? So yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm going to hit Q on my keyboard. This looks good to me. So now it's time to export it as an STL, right? So we're going to get this guy. I'm going to actually subdivide it. Right now I'm in Preview Smooth. So I'm going to go up to Mesh and Smooth. Doesn't have to be high poly, but I can add one level to it, something like this. And then we're going to go to File, Export Selection, and I'm going to call this Stylus STL. Export it as an STL, of course. Export, there we go. And then we're going to jump into Bambu Studio. Alright, so I imported the model. As you can see, it's tiny compared to the grid here. That seems to be a conversion problem between Maya and Bambu Studio, but that's not a problem because I know exactly what the width is now. If I go to Control T, that's 31.23, right? Let me just double check that. It is not, it's 44.55, right? So as long as I have that measurement going on here, I'm good. So I'm going to go to the scale option, and let's see, 44.55. So it's a decimal conversion problem. So it's going to be 44.6, right? 44.6, 31.4. And because I have uniform scale, it should now be fine. And it looks much better right now. Okay, it's setting good on my grid here. I don't need any supports, I don't think, unless this angle is more than 30 degrees, but I don't think so. Let's just see if I set supports, what it will do. Let me slice this guy. And yeah, it seems to be okay, and I am ready to print, right? So yeah, I'm gonna go and set this guy up. We're gonna go to print plate. All right, so this is my XC1. It's set to black, which is good. Hour 48 is acceptable, and here we go, we're gonna send it. Well, as you can see, it turned out okay, and yeah, it's a little functional thing, but nevertheless fun to make, right? Well, that's it for me, that's it for this video. See you guys in the next one. Bye.